welcome to my channel, SteveO the Window Cleaner. Oh, gotta put that in drive. Today, what we are going to talk about is it appropriate to skip windows when window cleaning? This is a kind of a topic nobody talks about. So, you could also call this spot cleaning. Most of the time, this would only be inside, used for inside stuff. But, so here's the thing. Residential homes, you can't skip windows. You just can't. Unless you talk about it with the customer and it's something that you just can't reach because of either a really bad pitch on the roof, which most likely now you can use water-fed pole for, so it's kind of like, if you don't have a water-fed pole, you should probably get one. Or if, say the window's broken, you don't feel comfortable cleaning it. We have that many times where a window's cracked and we say to the customer, the window's cracked, you want to still clean it? It's possible it could break. Usually they're like, yeah, clean it, because usually it's just one little break. Construction cleans, can't ever skip a window, definitely with construction cleans. Where this more pertains to is when you are doing like maintenance cleaning, such as in commercial business buildings, storefront routes that you're doing every week or 2 weeks, some restaurants here and there. Basically, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with this video. There's a lot of people that we agree. I think the people who disagree are going to be the people who are OCD and who are new. I think the people that will agree with this video have been veterans for a long time or are not OCD. So, when I go into, say, a storefront that we do every 2 weeks, I'll say, for instance, there is a cleaners that we do, a dry cleaners place. These dry cleaners places, the windows in there, especially in the wintertime, get a lot of humidity because of all the stuff they're using inside, and they really get this haze. But there's this one window set, and then one underneath it, that are right behind their clothes turning thing that brings the clothes to them to give to the customers. And I mean, the one window below has a huge neon in front of it that's taped to the glass, and the other window is super hard to get if you didn't know what you're doing. I try to get it whenever I can, but it is a window that if there's too many customers in there or something, I skip. And never have I ever had anybody say anything about it. Some of the larger commercial accounts we do, sometimes the way to get into these accounts is looking at it and saying, okay, I know they're saying we want all windows cleaned inside and out, but really, do all the windows need to be cleaned every single time? So what you got to do inside your head is say, if I'm going to be here every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks or every 8 weeks, I would say every 4 weeks is where you can kind of skip around and make sure everything looks good. But when you're getting to every 8 to 12 weeks, that's harder, because there's going to be a buildup of dirt. There's going to be maybe a small haze inside no matter what you're doing, except if you're doing business office buildings. That's the only time where a haze will build up, but you'll still see fingerprints. So, on these ones that we're doing, I would say, so there's some dealerships where we break it up. We don't say anything to the customer about it, but the customer is, by hiring you, is basically giving you the go-ahead to make sure that just everything looks good all the time, and you're just maintaining the windows. So inside, we break up the floors where we do one floor one time, one floor another time. Some windows that are outside in areas that are not seen very much one time, and then don't do them the next time. Even though the customer may think that you're doing them all the time, you're not. But the thing is that you, as the window cleaner, you have to educate your customers. And if that education is through just doing what you know is best, then that's what you do. If the customer doesn't ask and the customer seems happy, then take that as they're satisfied. They're good with it. The thing that sucks about window cleaning is sometimes you may not know until the customer calls you and fires you and says, you know what, we're going to go with somebody else, or we're just canceling service. Most of the time that's what they say, but then you know that they're going to hire somebody else. But to be able to give a good price, to be able to give a good service, you have to be able to understand how to and when to skip windows so that It's not like you're skipping a window because you're lazy. You're skipping a window because you've given them a price where you say, okay, I'm going to maintain it for this price, but I am not going to be able to do every single window for this price. Say you have a mattress store. Mattress stores, you always do all the outside, but you go inside and all of a sudden every single window has a sign up with the suction cups or has a massive bed in front of it that if you were to squeegee anything over top of it, you may get water drips on that mattress. Say if you're trying to get in there in and out at a good price, it may be very hard to say, okay, now I'm going to lay down a big cloth, and if you want to do all that, your price may be way higher than the guy that's going to come in there with a pole and maintain it. That's the most important word here, is maintain. So, don't skip windows when it's a construction clean. Don't skip windows when you're doing homes. If you have to skip a window, talk to the customer. Let them know, like, hey, this is the reason why I cannot get to this window. Most customers, especially residential customers, are very understandable. Residential customers want you, I think, to be safe more than commercial customers. Most commercial customers, especially huge commercial buildings, are not really watching you while you're doing the work. They're pretty much saying, okay, we're going to trust you, do the work. I would say in restaurants, if I ever skip windows, it may be uppers that I'll do every few times, but not do every time. Keeping the outside maintained keeps them really good. You got to look at things like that. So you got to look at, like, I've been in this restaurant for this price, but those windows don't be done every time. But if you list to your customer every single window that you're gonna, like, I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna break it up down. I'm gonna do this one this time, this one this time, charge you this, charge you that. You're making it too complicated. One thing I've learned from a lot of veterans in the business, especially Jim, is that customers like to see a consistent price. If you are constantly saying, oh, I skipped that window, therefore I'm gonna take down the price by $2, or I skipped this whole batch of windows because there were people in the way, so I'm going to not charge you for that part. They don't really like that. For billing purposes and for budget purposes, they want to see a consistent price. I used to be bad about that when I worked at Fish. If I didn't do a window, I would take off the price. I try to be real honest. And now it's not about not being honest. It's just about knowing what is best for the customer and what the customer wants. After doing this for a long time, you really get used to it. The other thing in restaurants is I find a lot of the smaller go in, get out, get your food, but there's a few tables around restaurants. We do a lot of bagel restaurants, these bagel stores, and these places are packed. Every time I go in the morning, they're packed. Every time I go in the afternoon, they're packed. I cannot go in there and not have it be packed. Even by 5 a.m., these places are packed. So what I have to do at these places, even though it's in and out, there's windows I can't do. There's just windows that I cannot sit around there and wait for 20 extra minutes when I have a bunch of other stores to do that day and wait for this one person to get up. You have to say to yourself, you know what? I'll get it next time. So next time when I do outside, I will try to remember I didn't do that inside window, and I will try to remember to go in. If I don't remember, no harm, no foul. They know from a long time of working with them that I am always going to take care of it. So I would say restaurants is where you run into that the most. If you're doing a new clean in a restaurant, say we have an A&W we do. We just started this a month ago, and it's kind of an old school A&W burgers and fries restaurant. And when first time I went in there, all of a sudden I hit it at the total wrong time of day. I thought I was going to be fine. It was in between the lunch and dinner hour, and somehow the school around the way got out at the same time, and I got in there and it was just packed. So what I had to do, because they really wanted inside out, I nicely just, after I was done with one window, I had to go to another table. I said, sir, can you please get up so that I can clean this window? I'll be real quick, and you sit back down, but I'm just doing an inside out clean today. It's the first clean, and I just really need to get them cleaned. That's the best way to do it. Now here's not the best way to do it, and here's what I did one time that was really dumb of me. I was at one of these bagel restaurants, and I was trying to make sure I got every window. This is kind of when I first started beginning it, and I just got they have kind of a bar top in front of the glass looking outside, and I got way too close to a person eating a bagel right there. And as I cleaned the window, I didn't think the water would go that far, but water got right on his bagel. He was pissed. I offered to buy him a new bagel. He didn't want to hear it. Threw his bagel out, left the restaurant. I was really worried for a while that they may call the place and, you know, get me in trouble, but they didn't. But that's the things you got to watch out for. Just have common sense. Another idea of skipping windows is called spot cleaning. And spot cleaning is more of, okay, you go in, you look around, you find the windows that are dirty, and you clean those. That's what I'll usually do if we have an account and the customer really just does not understand how much window cleaning costs, and they just won't agree to a high cost, and they're like, well, I want the outsides clean, I want the insides clean, but I don't want to pay a lot. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do for you. I'll always clean the outside, but on the inside, I'll do spot cleaning. I will clean anything that looks extremely dirty, but anything that doesn't look too bad, I'm going to leave for the next time I come in and spot clean. I wouldn't suggest that, though. I wouldn't suggest selling that. It's not a fun way to do it, because as a window cleaner, you're still going to want everything to look good, and it's just kind of like, I wish this all looked better. So, is skipping windows appropriate or not? It is appropriate in some instances. You'll find times you're going to have to do it, but by the time you become really good at this job, it's going to be really easy just to go through and do everything. One last story. When I used to work for Fish, their prices were extremely low. That is one place where I probably skipped the most windows, because their prices were so bad that if you were to spend the amount of time in every job and even be a quick window cleaner, you wouldn't make any money. I mean, the amount of money you would make for the amount of time you spent there was such crap that you had to figure out a way to get through these jobs. Basically, if a job was $65, I would do all the outsides and try to do his insides as much as possible and spend about 50 minutes there. By the time I got good, when I first started, I got every window, sweated it out, got pissed by the end, was cussing out the job. You know, that's the way it was. But now that I know what to do, I'm totally confident in that I will always keep everything maintained very well and everything clean. So, you know, what it comes down to is whether you can decide and whether you can let your OCD let go enough that you feel confident in what you're doing and that the customer is happy. Fill out the customer a little bit. See how they interact with you. See how they are. We have a couple customers, that is never a possibility. If you miss one door or anything, they're going to call you. And you're going to find those customers. And you know what, those customers, you just always do what they want to do. You know, there was Luke put out a video this past week about talking about the 6 myths of window cleaning. And I only disagreed with them on 2 things, but I'm only going to go over one thing. Great video. Go check out his channel as always. But that your customers are your bosses. Your customers aren't your bosses. Your customers have hired you to do work for them. But with window clean, what I have found is that you must educate your customers. If your customers are always saying this is wrong, that is wrong, you have to educate them. They're not your boss. You know, you are your own boss. You're going out there, you're doing this work. They are your customers, they're paying customers. They're not your boss. The customer is not always right. And I will be making a video on that. I've held off for a while. I have a good story behind that, but I'm kind of letting it fade out until I tell the story about it. But I hope you kind of enjoyed this video. I kind of wanted to bring it up because no one's ever talked about it, and it's a big thing as far as window cleaners feeling comfortable with it. Some window cleaners take way too much advantage of the whole situation of skipping windows and really screwing over customers. But if you do know the right way to judge it, you'll do really well, and I think it will actually help your business in a way. I know that's a really weird thing to say, because as I'm telling you, oh, maybe skip windows to get better business. It's not what I'm telling you. I'm just telling you that there's going to be times you're going to run into that getting to a window may take you so much more time that you're not being paid for, that it may not be worth it. Especially in like office buildings where you're doing maintenance cleans, storefronts where you're doing maintenance cleans. That's the most time you'll run into it. So hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.